Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Social Hotelier Podcast with me, Sam-Erik Ruttmann. My guest today is Dr. Laszlo Puczko. With over 25 years across health, wellness, medical travel, hospitality, and tourism, Dr. Puczko is recognized as a visionary of uniting economics, design, and well-being, science, and into sustainable destination strategies. He also is a co-founder and chief executive officer of Health Tourism Worldwide, a firm specialized in wellness and health tourism strategy and consultant. Laszlo holds a PhD in tourism from Budapest University of Economics, where his doctoral work explored the evolution and impact of health and wellness tourism. So welcome, Laszlo, and thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for the very kind invitation and a great intro, Sam-Erik. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Could you first of all share with us about you founded or co-founded the Health Tourism Worldwide. Yeah. What does it do, and what inspired you to be part of a foundation to found this company?
This is I would call it as a boutique and very focused group of colleagues and friends who represent a wide range of experiences and knowledge. Since we understand that anything to do with well-being and health requires a wide range of experience and knowledge. And that was, somehow the trigger that we need to create some sort of an umbrella, a loose umbrella that provides us a common platform, and then we can share and work together depending on it. It's very loose. So everybody has her own other firm or firms, but under this umbrella, we prefer to work with each other depending on the task and depending on the project, since we like to just bring in the best available in the field. We don't like to pretend that we know everything. I think it's better to recognize that probably knows something more than I do, and it's way easier to just work with that person, and it is very inspiring as well. So that was really the reason, just to bring in and create that umbrella for everybody.
Will this platform give you the opportunity to travel to different regions, and where you're providing some consultations and so on? And I have learned that you were in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for instance.
Yes, this is a field, I believe, that it's a very good example to show that the more you know, the less you know. Since health, well-being, happiness, most of that is culturally and historically defined. Local assets and resources also influence what people have been doing and how they approach life in general. So yes, more we travel, the more recognize that, well, it probably should know even more about it than less. So yes, I'm really blessed. This is probably one of the best jobs, and yours as well, jobs in the world, that we can travel, and that's called work. And sometimes even be paid for it. So that's really is a good combination. But that's yes, I've been really blessed with working in more than 40 different countries in the world, presenting and speaking and masterclassing and teaching and consulting. So it's really a great understanding now, but obviously it's way more to go.
Absolutely. I mean, the wellness industry, or all the trends are being talked about, and because people are who are in the baby boomer age, they are concerned. They want to retain a wellness, and the younger generation also have woken up, and that this is important to them. But you have said in some instances, I have read that wellness trends are nothing more than a media noise. What do you believe the industry gets more dangerously wrong about well-being today?
That's a beautiful sentence you kicked off with. I mean, it being a media noise, that's absolutely right. As you know, not everybody, but most outlets and companies and brands desperately try to find their voice and the niche and catch attention. And obviously that creates a certain buzz, but the buzz is very much like fashion, and it can fade very, very quickly. My concern personally, since really have been in this world for 25, 30 years, we probably even didn't call it wellness back then because it was such a academic terminology, good 30, 35 years ago. Not now, obviously. it's the issue with the trends and the desperation of creating the next 5, next 7, next 10 trends for 2026 and beyond, all of that. If you search for it, you would find at least 20. I collected it. 20 different trends, sets of trends. Obviously, multiply 20 by another 5 or 10. So we're talking about 100, 150 different trends, inverted commas, which is beautiful and it's entertaining. But many of those are nothing more than wish lists and results of certain searches, not necessarily justified by data or evidence or actual market knowledge. Obviously, there is a good number of people and colleagues and brands that do provide meaningful and very insightful data. But to call it a trend, it's a very easy thing nowadays. Everything is a trend. But as a global trend, I'm very hesitant to even second it, since many of those, let's say, trends may not be relevant in different countries, maybe even in different cities or regions of a country, let alone relevant globally. Since big urban areas might represent a very different set of expectations and lifestyle choices than more in remote places or in Africa or South America or Southeast Asia or in the islands. So when somebody says next 5 global trend, I turn away and say, well, yeah, of course it is. But tell me something which is more relevant to a segment or Gen Z living in, let's say, urban areas in Western Europe, but it's completely different if you're in China or you are in Malaysia or you are in South Korea, for the matter, and so on and so on. So I think what we need to be aware of is the complexity of the matter, and to understand that there are many different ways of looking at this. Let's say wellness, what wellness means, and what wellness means to a certain person or certain groups of people, and how that understanding may be changing or may be influenced. What I really don't advocate is the sheer business approach that we see nowadays. Although wellness is supposed to be a philosophy, it should be a guiding principle, not as an industry per se, because then it raises all sort of issues or how you define industry, where is the borders of that industry, what's included, what's not included, how to avoid duplication, triplications, and so on and so on. So we are mixing up a little bit the purpose, which is the outcome, and also the benefit of what wellness actually means to a certain person. So when you put it into this murky situation of purposes and outcomes and objectives and business targets, then you might understand that this is a very complicated situation, and the next 10th thing may or may not be relevant to you. We need to look for your version of the next 5 things.
As you mentioned about the wellness trends, the consumer need to be aware and not being entirely skeptical, but be sort of not looking at that this is a great trend, we have to try this one for the next thing. But what is it sort of a simple step I should be looking at those things when the next 10 trends are being published?
Mm-hmm. Of course, read them with excitement and interest, but take with a pinch of salt and try to understand where any of those may come from. Is it someone sat around a coffee table and made it up? Or is it AI suggesting something? Or is it something that they are echoing a brand message, which could easily be the case? Of course, AI can help you to find out any of those very, very quickly. It may even resonate very well with you or with that hotel or with a business. How relevant those are to that business, to that given location, that is the trick. And this is when the hospitality industry is struggling, to translate it into and to value it, whatever those trends are, because often you can say that, oh, well, this is the most quoted 5 things, so obviously I need to implement, I need to find how to work with that. But it may or may not be relevant to my guests, to my guest mix, to the organization or the human resources we have. So trends are good and interesting as long as there is someone who can help to translate and help to implement.
Yeah. Is the industry obsession with experience and transformation becoming a gimmick? Where is the line between meaningful programming and pure fiction?
Oh, well, and then we should have another session about this topic, I believe. Everybody's talking about transformation. Joe Pine is going to publish the Transformation Economy book, I think next week or whenever it is. The next, the follow-up on the experience economy. The Pine and Gilmore publications now is going to be Transformation Economy. So obviously it's everywhere. I do argue that yes, there are people who are looking for transformation. And yes, certain hospitality products can provide that transformation opportunity. But those who already have transformed, may I use that expression, so they are living the healthy lifestyle, they do the fitness, and they do the mental balancing and all of those, they're not looking for further transformation, they're looking for confirmation. That's a very different scenario. So you can't always aim for transformation. And many people, especially the bulk of the travelers, they're not looking for transformation. They want to just escape. They want to just relax. They just want to do something different, which is, let's say, different compared to their everyday tasks or the stress of their home. So transformation may come across as an extra task and something which is even more stressful, because I expect you to change your lifestyle, your thinking, your diet, your physical activities, and so on and so on. It could come through as a major pressure. So, we have to be very, very careful with that. And what trumpeting is happening about transformation, it's okay, but we can talk about 20, 40, 50 bed capacity property that can focus on transformation. But the vast majority of the business can't do that. They can obviously introduce different solutions in terms of improving sleeping or a different diet or an exercise equipment in in-room facilities, and that could contribute in the long run to some sort of transformation. But the major transformation can only be expected in specific and in focused properties. There's a large number of those now and many more coming to the market, that's for sure. But that's not representative to what the hospitality business is doing. Fiction, many of that, of the benefits are subjective. So it may work for you, even if it may not have any kind of clinical study behind supporting it, but it could work for you. That's for sure. But that can take you to a very difficult situation of clinical trials, data, ethical committees approving results, and so on. Hotels are not in that business. I have been working for hotels in medical wellness and in healthcare, and they are really struggling to merge healthcare, medical wellness, and hospitality, because the logic is very different, the protocols are very different. So it's not that. Look for the evidence, look for the test results. Good focused properties do have those results published, that our doctor has been doing this and this and this, or own therapist has been working on this and this and this. Look it up. Look up those information. Plus, we have culturally defined practices. In the Nordic part of the world, various lagons and various other understandings and approaches to happiness and lifestyle, which you may say it's not clinically proven, but it's part of the cultural traditions. They can also be very beneficial. However, in one weekend, it's very difficult to see how lagon works. Yeah. Or any other works, or hygge, or any other of those. You can have a kind of taste that might lead to some sort of transformation, more like generating interest. But just going back to your initial question, you need to make informed decisions. Hospitality specialists may not have the in-house knowledge, so don't be shy and do talk to people who understand what well-being is and ask them, is there anything for me in an urban hotel, in a retreat, in any other place? What is it about it? And don't go to hospitality consultants or spa consultants. This is different. This is not just another spa. This is not just another hotel. You need to have some people who understand the complexity of the options and then adapt it to your situation.
Oh, very good. Very good. You criticize brands for chasing unicorns. What are the most common illusions hotel boards fall for, and why are they so persistent?
I do like unicorns. Who doesn't? I mean, they're beautiful, they're magical, they're cute. The only one problem is they don't exist. I mean, at least how we know them. They may exist. I don't know. It may exist, but I would like to see one of them. Boards are business-minded professionals, owners, representatives, banks, financing parties. They are not interested in beautiful concepts, philosophies. They're interested in Excel sheets and numbers in those Excel boxes. They said, oh, well, what's the GOP? But, now we talk about ROI, but now we're talking about ROX, as in return on experiences, not return on investment. It's a very different mindset. We don't really have well-being represented in boards. They are falling in for design. They're falling in for beautiful interiors, the fantastic locations. They're falling in for brands of suppliers of creams and lotions and potions and all of that. So they're falling for something which they can understand. And they're not necessarily aware of the opportunities. We had a client who said, oh, well, I want to build a resort here and here and here. I said, well, can we just stop for a minute? Are you sure you want to have a resort? What exactly is it you want? You want to have a quick exit? You want to have a long-term investment? Or you want to have a sizable return? Tell me that first, then I can tell you where well-being we can provide you a certain opportunity. But they always think of these silos of hotels and resorts and spas and wellness centers or fitness centers or spa treatment rooms and beds. And that's hotel boards look at those lovely mood boards and designs and we say, oh, I like that. I can see myself in it, except this is not for you. It's supposed to be for a different market. So that's what it is to really understand how to monetize the soft components. Now we have data suggesting that, oh, well, should you do wellness, then it's going to increase ADR by X% or RevPAR by Y%. I do believe, and since we talked about the Gen Z and even Gen Alpha, now actually we need to talk about Gen Beta, since they just started to, as of now, Beta started, Generation Beta. Then they look into soft components. They look into expectations that they don't want to pay extra for. 15 years ago, hotels made us pay extra for the internet, the Wi-Fi. Would you pay for the Wi-Fi now? You would look at the reception like, are you joking me? What are you talking about? The well-being or wellness improving amenities, services, solutions in hospitality soon will become an absolute entry-level expectation. And you can't say that, well, this room is a well room, because that suggests that the other rooms are unwell. So who is going to pay for an unwell room? This room is very optimized for sleeping. I said, hang on, sleeping is an elemental part of hospitality business. So you don't care about the guests who go to other rooms in terms of sleeping. So soon we have all those innovations, services, filtrating into everyday propositions and everyday offers, and we can't charge extra for that. Still, GMs need to increase their understanding from satellite approach to integrated approach. Even if you're not a wellness hotel, you're not a wellness resort, you're not a retreat, wellness contributing and improving qualities in hospitality provision will be absolutely basic standard, not extra. But GMs need to think of that very hard, because at the moment they're not exactly with it.
I understand. Saudi Arabia, or the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, was a place where very few international hotel brands, with the exception of Jeddah or Riyadh, went. But now there's a new developments and there's change of policy, in fact, and now the Saudi Arabia has become the hot market. But when major brands enter new markets, such as Saudi Arabia, which has a very different culture to many of the Western brands, do they elevate the destination or erase it? What does that brand takeover really cost a place culturally, in your opinion?
Obviously, we can mention the the Red Sea Global and Amala as destinations that want to attract international tourists, not just domestic but international tourists. And the strategy, what they applied, is that they invite in internationally established, well-respected brands, hotel brands or clinic brands, if you will, and they want to they're opening the 3 bays in Amala. So they really are now not just talking about it, but opening those properties. Those brands certainly will make their mark, and they elevate awareness service approach, which didn't exist in that part of Saudi Arabia, for example, or you can mention or in Qatar or even in UAE, in various locations. So they do bring in something which was not really part of the service offer. They bring in new segments, they bring in new standards. So it certainly is a step, maybe not even be one step, but several steps ahead. Because the international brands bring in all the established operational protocols and service protocols and brand associations and standards and quality. So it's great. So it really, you can jump very quickly, several steps. How relevant that is to a location, that it becomes a very subjective matter. Since brands would bring in what they know best, which is what their guests would look for, and they just want to offer it at a different location. How location specific you are, it now becomes the owner's flexibility, the brand's flexibility of how much you allow to be adapted to the location, and also what the investment policies are, what they expect from those brands, and what they expect from those investments to contribute to education, work with schools, provide additional training, do some environmental improvement activities, and invest into nature, invest in the human capital. So it depends, and it's very much politically defined how those applications actually going to turn out. Obviously, to a local brand to create such a market impact, it may not be easy or at all possible. So that's why destinations bring in all those brands. Well, now we see that even the big brands are happy, or not necessarily happy, but they're ready to provide some sort of flexibility in terms of local adaptations. So yes, we have the brand standards and the brand protocols, but we are allowed to bring in resources, assets, approaches, materials that can create the local flavor. So even if we are an international brand, we allow some sort of local adaptation. So that's in several brands, talking about the Red Sea Global area, does take place. So they allow flexibility, but still they capitalize on the international brand.
It's interesting. I follow quite closely on the Saudi Arabia, and I keep regular contact with my friends who are making those efforts. And I totally agree with you on the idea that while the international brands are coming in, they have to be also sensitive on one side, that they also get a better understanding of the culture they're getting into, and they don't try to just roll over with what they know best, but they also have to be listening very carefully. But I also, what I like is that the education part, where for instance, countries like Saudi Arabia would like to have the only local workforce, or their people learn the skills also, that it gives them a kind of a new lift into their careers, which I think is quite relevant.
But it's not an easy question, really, because you might say that we expect some sort of flexibility and adaptation, but at the same time, the brands might say that our loyal guests would like to see what they got used to just in a different location.
Yeah.
So they might say that, hang on, I was expecting I don't want to say the brand, whatever, services just by the Red Sea. I didn't want you to have something which is different from what I'm used to and what I am loyal to. So it's a very difficult situation that do you provide the brand standard based services unchanged, or you provide an alternative should somebody want to expand and go beyond that. But that becomes a human resource management, OPEX, and various other issues come up right away. So it's really a strategic issue, and not every brand would go and branch out. Some might say that, no, I am this brand, I want to deliver what the brand suggests, because that's what our guests will expect, regardless of where we are. And I'm in no position to say this is wrong. It's just a different approach.
Yeah. Now, I had an experience. I worked in Kuwait. We're talking about the mid 80s, yeah, late 80s, and I was working for an international hotel company, and it was a humbling experience because Kuwait has a very strong culture, a very deep-rooted culture for generations, and here we come with a international, well, originally from US, the brand, and we had the brand standards, and I think we had to be very careful. We learned very quickly that it's not possible to put the manuals on the table here. Let's implement 100% that this is how we do it elsewhere. It didn't work that way at all, and it was probably one of the best learning experience I had of working in an environment which is unlike what I had worked before, and then also to rewrite the book rewrite the manuals completely from beginning.
Yep. Yeah, you still can have that brand standard, but understanding that you're in different cultural, religious, whatever situation. So you need to provide that flexibility. Let's say in the wellness part or any other, the health part, you're going to need to go beyond that, because local markets may even, if you were targeting the local market, then they might expect very strongly something which they can relate to. Yes, they would branch out to something which is new to them, but they expect something that is very familiar. So you need to have a very different approach to it, however strong your brand standards are and how, fixed in stones those books are.
We had a spa. If I look at what the spa looked like at that time and to us today, our focus was more of the customers was looking for improving their physical condition more than anything else. It was getting learning or going through different stretching exercises, and it was more of a fitness issue rather than how I would see any spa treatments of today in that place. It was very different, but that was basically because of the clientele was looking for this. I want to become more fit, and of course, when we have 50-degree temperature outside, well, it has to be in an air conditioning environment. So it was a different times and a different place.
Yeah, but the temperature hasn't changed. You still have 50 degrees.
Yes.
And let's say, talking about that part of the world, not just the local market has changed, but also there is a large number of, as they refer to them, expat communities coming from Asia, Central Asia and Southeast Asia, who work in those countries, and they also represent a certain set of expectations in terms of recreation and leisure.
Yeah.
So they brought in an extra layer of complicacy of how to provide something which is appreciated by the workers, at the same time something that's appreciated by the local market. So it became more complex than before.
So well-being, if well-being is rooted in heritage and human history, how should destinations protect authenticity while hosting luxury operators with globalized playbooks?
Well, my first question would be, what's luxury?
Yeah.
I mean, what is luxury?
What is definition? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what is luxury? Because there are all that many different ways of understanding and translating luxury. To some people, being alone in a quiet Finnish landscape by the lakes could be luxury, although you pay, 50 euros because you stay at someone's summer home. But that's you translate it as luxury because you're living in a very busy, bustling city, and it's always noise, always people. But now it's serenity and it's peace and it's quiet. That's luxury. So do we look at luxury in the physical? In physical measures or by physical measures in terms of space and materials used and designs and all of those, or we're looking at luxury as something that people really cherish and appreciate because most of the time they can't afford it, or they really look at it as something unique or precious. So first of all, we need to understand what luxury is, because the guest experience may be translated as luxury, although by hotel standard it was a 2-star property. So yes, but of course, let's say well-being or wellness destinations or wellness services, most of the time offered at high-end, bespoke luxury. Again, I'm using different terminologies. Operators and that's what guests want to have, being pampered, being personalized, offering personalized services, all the way from even thinking about booking up until departure. So we need to first define what luxury really means in our context or in that given property's context. We also understand that more people now appreciate the intangible aspects of luxury and less the tangible aspects of luxury. So rituals, activities, journeys, programmed activities created for that given person or that couple or family or company, they are considered to be probably the highest luxury compared to just a large balcony overlooking the ocean or the rainforest or whatever you want to say in terms of luxury. So that's really something that is changing, and probably there needs to be a blend of tangible and intangible. We talked about boards, hotel boards. They often go for the tangible aspects because it's easy to design, easy to follow, easy to implement, and easy to create. But the intangible aspects of it will be very human resource dependent. It will be very conceptual. And then it will depend on certain number of people. And as we know, hospitality at the moment is really struggling to retain, first of all, attract and also retain human resources, especially highly skilled human resources, let's say in the well-being field in particular, not therapists necessarily, but beyond. So it's easy to say that, well, I want to have X number of pools and infinity and whatever it is because it's tangible. But we see that or not GCC in Africa, Central America, luxury is now more, well, at least shifting towards the intangible from the tangible, which is a very different mindset. And at the same time, it's easier to change and modify and update than the tangible, because if you build in 20 square meter bathroom, that's set for a long time. Whereas if you created a bathing ritual, that ritual can change fairly quickly because you change an ingredient, you change the music, you change the scent, you change the flow. So it will become also a luxury experience, but less dependent on tangible aspects. So I think that's what we need to observe, really, that how heritage and history and even happiness systems can be introduced to guests who are not familiar with that, and they can learn from it, can be inspired by it. But to actually do it, we should be doing some capacity building at local level, since employees and also management companies are not aware of any of that. They understand how to manage rooms,
Yes.
how to manage F&B, how to manage banqueting, but they don't necessarily understand how the guest journeys and rituals and flows can be improved, and how the guests will feedback saying that this was the most luxurious experience what I had just experienced. Whereas the hoteliers might say that, well, it was a shack in the forest, and you listen to the monkeys and the birds in your treatment, but for you that was luxury. For us, it was something very, very simple and very easy and even cheap to create. But the guests will label it as the most luxurious experience, since most people wouldn't have a real monkey looking at them while they are given a massage.
Yeah, very good. There are a number of real estate companies that are thinking, oh, let's develop a hotel and a resort. And are there some concern about a long-term consequence when developers select wellness concepts without understanding the operational or cultural implications?
Yes, I think the short and definite answer is, oh, very much so, unfortunately. I think what really is, what we can see is that they are underestimating what guests appreciate in terms of benefits and returns. They totally underestimate. They overdevelop infrastructure and space, so building spaces. They underestimate the OPEX, and then obviously underperform at the end of the day of ROIs or ROX, if you wanted to look at that way. So we can see that we're still very much defined by the physical creation thinking, that no one has talked about the brand, no one has talked about the, let's say, the wellness proposition, but they already have the architect already showed the first designs to the management, and they already fell in love, and then we are done. And then you say that, hang on, can we just stop, just wait a minute. Where is the flows? What's the guest doing? How they relate indoors, outdoors, seasonal? What's happening? Architects, with certain exceptions, really just learning what wellness really means in terms of biophilic design, in terms of in nature, inside and outside, in terms of creating valuable spaces and opportunities. So they're not really, they really are sort of getting there. And what we see is that the overdeveloped spaces and the overdeveloped infrastructure, because they look at the tangible aspects of it and not the intangible aspects of it. And then those infrastructure will be there, and those spaces will be there, and it will be very limited flexibility of how to reuse them should they not work. We just heard that one of the properties decided to go for a non-spa approach, so they have no treatment rooms, but they create some spaces and opportunities where guests can create those wellness opportunities for themselves, but they wouldn't necessarily do the necessary treatment room scenario. So they want to avoid unnecessary infrastructure development. Whereas in other project, I heard that they have over 70, just to make it clear, treatment rooms. And this is when you kind of stop for a second, asking that, sorry, what did you just say? 70 treatment rooms? What were you thinking? I mean, what was your idea really here? That 70 treatment rooms, and how many therapists you need to have there? And so on and so on and so on. So design-wise, it may look like a great idea, but it's not necessarily going to work that way, since we need to think of conversion rates. And as you know very well, even the very sophisticated, high-end, let's say, wellness destinations, the conversion rate is 30-40% at best. And then, you build a lot of spaces which cannot be used for anything else.
That's right. Yeah.
So I always advise that can we just hold on and stop and put your pen down or put your software down and stop it for a minute, pause, don't create spaces because we haven't decided what the wellness DNA of this property is. Decide first, check if it's needed any kind of space and what kind of space, personal, social, a large, small group, and then try to allocate it accordingly. Not to say we have rooms and this is a dining area, this is the spa, this is the whatever it is, recreation, because we're already recreating the very same mistake. So that's what I am seeing literally in almost any project that I have a closer look at, that they really overdevelop, underestimate, and they overspend.
Is there any idea then, for instance, to look at the hotel room or the room design and then incorporate some feature that could be used as, so to speak, as a spa experience, if you will, and then rather than developing a separate spa or wellness area?
But to be quite honest with you, yes and no. Since in-room amenities, the Cyros and the Equinoxes and the various other brands, they attempt they attempt to create something like that. How much of those things are being used? That's even it's in-room. That's also a major issue, because then you create additional space. Should you want to have a yoga mat or an exercise mat, you need to create space. So that space is taken away from other rooms. And can you justify the rates that you have less number of rooms and you provide? Do people want to pay extra? Or by say that, well, I can run, I can jog, I can do yoga on the beach, I can do exercise in outdoor spaces. I don't necessarily need to have that room. I appreciate those amenities, but they don't necessarily want to use them. The technology, some people are worried that those smart mirrors are leaking information. It's sensitive information that you are standing in front of a smart mirror, and who is owning that information? Who is owning those images? These are very particular issues, and I'm not suggesting that they are, stealing your image, but people start to worry since fake and deep fame and all of that is already a major concern, let alone that you are giving your body to a service provider. So we need to build in all sort of caveats and safety measures to prevent all these assumptions. But at the same time, many guests might say that, well, I don't need space. I can do it where I'm outside, whereas other guests do. So you might have a share that X number of rooms would have an extra space, other rooms may not have an extra space. We can't really create those rooms that everybody's going to be well-being specific, well-being oriented in 250 rooms. There's no such thing.
Yeah.
So you will have spaces which are not used. Rates may justify and say that, yeah, fine, they don't use it, but they're still happy to pay for it because they pay for the opportunity. Should I want to, it's there.
Yeah, exactly. You combine economics, design, and human behavior in your work. In your view, what single factor shapes a guest's well-being more than any treatment or technology?
My approach is to enable our guests to make a better self. That's called equity, not equality, but equity. So, and I'm enabling them. Should they want to take this opportunity, that's up to them. But enabling that we need to be aware, and this is what GMs and boards will need to recognize and understand, that even if I'm not a wellness hotel, I'm not a wellness resort, I'm not a medical wellness clinic, every single activity in a hospitality asset has an effect on the guest's well-being and on the staff's well-being. Everything, the lights, the humidity, the clothes they're wearing, the hours they're working, everything. Because this is how we work as human beings. How much of that is being consciously planned and then implemented, that makes a difference. Even if I'm not a wellness property, your brands, your properties, well-being DNA and well-being approach affects guests every minute and your employees every minute. But the question is how consciously you planned any or all of that. Do you have a well-being strategy? Do you have a well-being DNA incorporated into F&B and rooms and and recreation and banqueting and everywhere, even if you're not a wellness property. That makes the difference. Not putting in a smart mirror or throwing in, let's say, a ball or whatever, circadian lighting in the room and all of that, because then it would be how to operate it, what to do with it. That becomes a technology specific, but technology is assisting and not a purpose.
Yeah. With travelers seeking resets, sleep, breathing, and reconnection, what unmet psychological needs do you believe the next generation of resorts must finally address?
Do they seek reset and sleep and breathing and reconnection? I mean, are we absolutely sure about this? I mean, seriously, some do, absolutely. They are hardcore, absolutely hardcore seekers, and they're hardcore savvy guests in terms of sleeping quality, in terms of air quality, purification, linens, the room amenities, in terms of what's included in those products and the shower gels and the anything else. So yes, we have savvy guests. That's absolutely fine. And they do look for, they actively look for these properties, that they do have these provisions and they do provide that information. But at the same time, not everybody is so consciously looking for all of that. They might take it as an experiment. And that's interesting. I didn't know that I can adjust my sleeping in terms of angles and in terms of pillows and in terms of how heavy my duvet is, because that has an impact on the quality of sleep. So they might take these kind of snippets of information and provision, like, that's fantastic. That really is a great thing. Now I'm going to investigate and I'm going to learn more about it. So that is how heavily I'm really trying to get this message through. If it's really strong, then it can easily become a stress factor of how I'm going to comply, what I need to be doing, am I doing the right thing, how is this working, what I need to do. And so it can become very, very stressful, even just to have a optimal sleep position in bed, because there's so many adjustments is possible, and the lights and the scents and the pillow and all of that. It's like, I want to go, I'm so tired, I want to just go to the room and sleep, leave me alone. So they understand that not everybody is going to be so conscious and so driven. Yes, many are, or probably more and more are doing that, but it's defined by location, defined by culture, defined by age groups, defined by lifestyle, what they are happy to take on and happy to get involved in. Most properties will not be able to provide all this sophistication because people are not ready to pay for it. When you have Airbnbs, I haven't yet seen wellness Airbnbs. I don't know. Have you seen wellness Airbnbs? I mean, some advertise them, but they think about that they should be creating a certain subcategory and all of that. But wellness hostels, we have one or two, one in Switzerland, and I don't know where the other one is. I can't remember now. So wellness provision and wellness philosophy in the design and the operations, that's great. How much more guests happy to take or expect to take, that can become very, very segment specific, even culturally defined. In Germany, they expect a lot of services in terms of vitality and fitness and gastronomy and all of that. If you go to Central America, it has to be very, very social. They don't want to be on their own. They have to do in a treatment area. They have to be social. So you have to create that kind of aspect, and that's what makes them happy and well. There's a cultural styles phenomenon by a gentleman called Lewis, and he created a pyramid of how people behave in social contexts. And now I think it's time that we in the hospitality business and also in the wellness business, we look at those cultural styles, how people behave and why they do so, and how we can accommodate that and how we can respond to that. So there's all that many different considerations. That's why I mentioned in the beginning, you're not necessarily looking for a hotel consultant, because a hotel consultant will tell you that you need to have 120 rooms minimum, you need to have X number of square meters minimum, and this is the 5 brands that you can think of. But then we need to go beyond that in terms of guest mixes and behaviors and lifestyles and pillars of luxury and understanding of luxury. And then you may recognize that, oh, well, I wanted to have a 3-star hotel. I ended up having a no-star rated retreat, and I'm doing a fantastic business out of it.
Yeah.
But I wasn't aware of it. I wasn't aware of it since I was thinking about, silos of hotels and stars and categories, but not lifestyles and expectations and happiness systems and behaviors.
You have visited some hotel schools and hospitality education. I learned that you were surprised, maybe even shocked, that leading hotel schools still ignore well-being as a core discipline. What advice would you give them?
Well, that's a very good point. I also I used to be head of a school in a hospitality school, and it's still new to many hospitality departments when you say that I'm not departmental, and this is probably the best word, the expression to use to start the discussion with. Well-being is not departmental. It's not, locked in a space. A spa is a space. Wellness now became a product that we buy in any of the shops. You can buy wellness towels and wellness ham and wellness hair dryers. So it became a product. But when you talk about well-being, it's a philosophy. And a philosophy that needs to be adapted, introduced, and nourished. And that's not the department. It's not a marketing department. It's not a well-being department. It's a design and operational philosophy. So you need to think of, let's say, matrix sort of situation, that you have the departments, you have the operational aspects, and then everything is somehow related to well-being. And what's your take on it? What's your well-being DNA? How seriously you considering all that? So this is a very kind of disturbing discussion to many, because it's not departmental. It's really overarching. Even if I'm just an urban hotel, I am a conference hotel, but do you have mind food, for example? For not even, you can't even call it coffee break anymore. It's going to be refreshing break. Do you have a mind food selection, or are you still providing the usual, snacks and sweets and whatever it is? Or are you more focused on how you can improve the outcomes of that meeting? So you provide something that people can munch on, but at the same time provide the minerals and the salt and the liquids and whatever that can improve the outcomes of the meeting. That's it doesn't make you a wellness hotel, but it makes you a very well engineered hospitality property, which is really making the guests get the best out of themselves. That's a very different approach, and I would love to see this one coming through. Now hotel schools start to look into this, but it takes time.
Yeah,
it takes time.
Very good. It has been a very interesting conversation, and I have two more questions before we wrap up. One question is that I like to ask all my guests, besides what we have talked about, what are the trends you see happening in hospitality that hoteliers should take note of now?
I would say something like along the line of meaning. Whatever meaning is, that whatever you do, whatever you offer, whatever you stand for, is not just a beautiful brand book that you created for the board, but the guests can also relate to that meaning of what you are doing and why you are doing so. And they can relate to it, they can find themselves in it, not just in terms of space, but also in terms of meaning, in terms of social context, in terms of giving back. So it's meaning, that's one. And the other one is the kind of redefinition of what luxury is and how we are approaching luxury. And then we can actually appreciate everyday luxury, kind of a nano-luxury moments that you cherish. It doesn't need to be a Swarovski chandelier, which costs hundreds and thousands, but it could be just a 15-minute unexpected impromptu little experience, or a scent or a tea or whatever it is, and then you will have this micro luxury. It doesn't need to be tangible all the time. So shift towards the intangible.
Very good. So it's like what I used to call it moving hearts, meaning moving heart, meaning getting people more feel that they have been part of something when they have joined the hotel.
Yeah, the heart and the soul.
Yeah, heart and the
soul is even less tangible than the heart. So it gives you an idea of how intangible I'm thinking.
That's right. Well, and then my final question is that if people want to connect with you, and how can they do so? Where are the best way to connect with you, to ask questions, or just want to learn more about your activities?
It's very simple, really. Thank you for asking. First of all, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's very easy and very simple. Then I'm an active user of LinkedIn on a daily basis, so it's easy. And also, obviously, through our web, which is htww.live. That gives you a lot of readings, articles, publications, proprietary intelligence, because we do a lot of intelligence, because you want to share and want to inspire. So that's the two easy ways to, or just ask AI how to talk to me, and then it will tell you that this is the easiest way to do it.
Very good. Well, Dr. Laszlo Puczko, I appreciate you joining today's episode, and thank you very much for all your fantastic insights.
Thanks so much, and kiitos.